World Tree, Volume 2, Network. Words by James Tynion IV, art by Fernando Blanco, colors by Jordi Belair, letters by Adita Bidikar, edit by Steve Fox, design by Dylan Todd. It was published by Image Comics in September 2024 and collects issues 6 through 11. Volume 2 brings us even more boobies and brutality. The cover blurb reads, "With the press of a button, Gabriel Winter changed the world. Now that he's gone, the original members of World Tree are left with his last will and testament, and a race against the clock to find Ellison Lane, the brother of one of the Undernet's victims, who has gone into hiding with his surviving family members. On the other side of the country, Special Agent Siobhan Silk struggles to understand how it all fell apart. Her partner is dead, her boss is focused on the wrong pieces of the puzzle, and a ruthless killer remains on the loose, recruiting others to her sick cause. Fear must be stopped, but will Agent Silk survive their rematch?" So if you're with me now, you've probably already read Volume 1, and if not, you should go and read that. Otherwise, spoilers ahead. Volume 2 takes place and starts pretty shortly after the last scene in Volume 1. Fear has taken the form of Gabriel's grown-up kid sister, Sammy, and has helped spread the influence of the Undernet. And he's killed Gabriel, but not before he manages to shut down the entire internet. Thanks to Gabriel's foresight and paranoia, the original message board exists on a private server isolated from the global shutdown. Just as a reminder, World Tree is the network of message boards that the party of teenage hackers, Gabriel's reunited friends, aka the World Tree Gang, developed back in 1999 to catalog their exploration of the Undernet. Volume 2 splits its focus into 3 major groups. We have the World Tree crew, Amanda, Darren, Yoshi, Liam, now the inheritors of Gabriel's wealth and his locked briefcase of secrets. We have Agent Siobhan Silk, recovering from her near-fatal encounter with Fear while trying to piece together what everybody else seems determined to ignore. And we have Ellison Lane, the brother of Gibson Lane, the first Undernet spree killer, now desperately trying to find what remains of his family. He's really shaken up at this point and very lost, and I think he's probably the most confused character out of everybody. So I think Volume 2 is a lot more put together as far as showcasing the different timelines and the different scenes and groupings. I'm a lot less confused between the scene jumps than I was in Volume 1. A main focal point in Volume 2 is Gabriel and what the hell he's been up to in the last few years. As the public face of Angel, a Google-like search engine, he wasn't just rich, he had near total access to global infrastructure. This volume really dives into how Gabriel didn't just shut down the internet. He'd been planning this for a long time, for years, and his friends, who he's never bothered to contact before, are suddenly left with this fucking mess that they have to decode and fix. That seems a little rude to do to your friends. He leaves behind a mystery briefcase that everybody needs to decode, and that honestly feels like a cliche, but it works. It works. Ellison Lane, the brother of Gibson Lane, the first mass spree killer in Volume 1, has been through the ringer. He's just witnessed his kid brother murdered brutally in front of him after a bizarre possession, and he doesn't know what's going on. He's out looking for his estranged family members with his awkward friends with benefits kind of scenario friend, Fausta, who, by the way, was just exposed to the Undernet and had to go through a deprogramming treatment, much like the one in A Clockwork Orange. And that was after she was found snooping around in his little brother's room because she was trying to sell this whole horrific, traumatizing story to her boss for a podcast. Your kind of boyfriend just went through this horrific, traumatic event and you're snooping around trying to sell a podcast? Get real. Here they run into Ellison's sisters, who are all weird, and we finally get insight into why Gibson Lane was the first victim of the Undernet. The story unfolds over several pages, so obviously it is an important part of the story. That's a really interesting part of the past, and it connects us back to Gabriel Winter. So it's not just coincidence that Gibson Lane was the first victim. As far as Agent Silk, her story arc is starting to deepen. She's no longer the tough, hyper-competent FBI agent that we saw in Volume 1. This volume kind of reframes her relationship with her now-deceased partner, Nikki. At first, I thought that she didn't really care about him, that it was strictly business, almost like their relationship was aloof. But here we see her a lot more grief-stricken. So it shows us that she did care about her partner Nikki, and she's more emotionally motivated now. Her investigation leads her into really uncomfortable places, especially with her boss, who is making some suspicious moves with Gregory Bell, who is a powerful Palo Alto tech mogul with a deeply unsettling history tied to Gabriel, like a dangerously young Gabriel back in 1999. So, without diving into too many spoilers, Volume 2 makes it increasingly clear that Gregory Bell isn't just a background villain, he's a manipulator and someone who's been circling the internet far longer than any of us really knew. Basically, we've got a huge plot twist, and everything we thought we know might not be what we think we know. Let's get into the book and the art. One of the first things I noticed is that the darker scenes are a lot easier to read this time around. I don't know if that is improved color work or just better printing and format, but it is a noticeable upgrade. The monochromatic theme continues, and it's used a little bit more strategically. So the glitch and the distortion effects that portray the undernet and its influence and possession carries on here. It's a lot more evolved now. The scenes where we see people who are affected are a lot more visually striking. I did spend more time looking at the imagery in this volume than I did in the first one. It is about 40 pages more than the first volume, and the price is increased from $9.99, which was the first volume, to $16.99. But that didn't initially catch my attention. I actually only noticed that when I was looking back on the first issue. Considering the workload involved in making a comic book, writing, art, color, lettering, editing, design, I'm fine with the price increase, and I hope it's a reflection of better compensation for the creators, because this is a great series and I'm sure it took a lot of work. Side note, young Gregory Bell looks exactly like Kurt Russell. I refuse to believe that's an accident. The verdict is that World Tree Volume 2 Network is where the series is really starting to lock in its momentum. The mystery is deepening, and while there's still a lot of unanswered questions, the pieces are finally starting to click into place. Volume 1 was the setup, Volume 2 is the hook. Absolutely worth continuing, and honestly, at this point, there's no reason to stop. We're in it to win it. So with that being said, I'm going to move on to Volume 3 because I just finished that and I want to get to that now. So see you in the next one.